Hello again, a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Deni Kay, here today with a bottle of the Batch 4 from Australian Whisky Appreciation Society. It is an Australian whiskey, and I have a few Aussie whiskies coming up. Now, I do apologise, I've been a little bit slack over the last 2 months, but back for 2023, have loads of bottles lined up that I really need to sit down and review. So if you don't already subscribe, you better do so. That way you can join me with them, because I'm going to have videos coming your way. Now, what I wanted to do with this one, because I was asked the question, is can you just open a bottle fresh that you're not overly familiar with, so that way you can quite simply go through it from the first experience fresh. So that's what I'm going to do today, right? I'm going to open this up, pour it. I'll give it a couple minutes while I talk a little bit about some of the other batches, and including this one as well. I'll try to keep these short, sharp anyway, so it's not going to get loads of airtime. But you know what I do realize is that most blokes, well, ladies, everyone, whiskey drinkers, rum drinkers, whatever you want to call it, brandy drinkers, will probably open a bottle and take a sip immediately. Even if you do plan to give it a bit of time in the glass, you probably still take a sip before you let it get a bit of airtime. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I quite like the gold screw cap. Pour ourselves a dram, not too large a dram. Okay, so give it a little bit of airtime. As I said, this is the AWAS Batch 4. So what I have in front of me are the 4 batches that they've done so far. 2 in 50cl 500ml, and then 2 20cl 200ml, which I think is actually pretty good because it keeps the price point down. So it just means that you don't have to spend too much for a full bottle, and if you like it, you can buy more than one. Now, this one here is the Batch 4 Aussie whiskey, limited to 120 200ml bottles, bottled at 55% ABV. It does not state which distillery it's from, which is actually consistent with the way that these batches are done. So it is really, I'm guessing, just about the experience of the contents without worrying too much about which distillery it's come from. It does state on the back the ABV, obviously, as I said, 55% ABV, that it is aged in a first fill ex-McWilliams Apera barrel, right? So Apera, for those people that aren't familiar, you can pretty much compare that to a sherry, because it is, call it a sherry style, but within Australia, obviously, must call it Apera because it's not coming from region in Spain to be able to call it sherry. It is unpeated, South Australia. You could probably guess which distillery it's from because it doesn't say. And I'm going to take I've taken a guess. I don't want to say because I guess if it needed to be said, it would be on there, but I'm going to assume that it's from a husband-wife team that win about 1 billion awards every single year for fantastic whiskey they make. So you could probably put the rest of it together. Aged for 4 years. Now, the barley, traditional ale malt from Joe White Maltings, I think it is. I could be wrong, but anyway, South Australia, that's probably completely off. But anyway, coming from SA, and also it was fermented, distilled, everything on site, using both brewers and distillers yeast. As I said, aged for 4 years in a first fill Apera cask. That's about as much information as I have on this. So that's all that I can tell you about the actual bottle and the contents, but I can go into the smell, taste, and the experience to let you know what my thoughts are on it. Now, as I said, I've got the other releases here because I have a bottle of each, relatively consistent in terms of the style. Some are peated, some are unpeated, fortified casks, but I think that the quality of them has been really, really good all the way through. So we'll try this. As I said, 55% ABV, obviously no color, non-chill filtered, all of that magical stuff. Now, 55%, yeah, a little bit of a punch there. The Apera cask comes through, but there's also a really nice bit of raspberry and also some toffee on the nose. Confectionery style sweetness on this one. 4 years, I think pretty good. So 4, I know that with these guys, they kind of look at summers, obviously because of the hot period with this distillery. So 4 summers, 4 years, cask has done extremely well. Raspberry twists with that confectionery, as I mentioned earlier. Some vanilla ice cream coming through, nice and creamy, so really good. And some fresh raspberries, berries, absolutely. Really fruity, confectionery sweetness on the nose, quite nice. Take a sip, add a little bit of water, see how we go. 55%. I think a lot of people appreciate that. For me, I'm gonna add a little bit of water to it, but huge on the berries, absolutely. A bit of umami kind of sensation coming through. Mid palate is nice. Coming through to the finish, there is some spice. It's still rather creamy. I think the water will add, will actually give me a little bit more of that coming through. Weighty, lovely flavor, as I said earlier. Fruity, yes, plenty of berries, heaps of toffee coming through on that as well. Spicy finish, quite nice. I really want to add a bit of water to it because I really do think, look, I'm going to add just a little bit more than half a teaspoon to that, right? Because I do think that I'm going to enjoy this with some water. And look, that's the beautiful thing, right? 55% ABV. So high enough for you if you just want to drink it at that strength, and it's really weighty. You probably get a little bit more of that spice coming through as well. So if you love that, then you just leave it at the 55%. If not, we will see what a little bit of water does to this. I admittedly do add water, especially when I'm trying things for the first time. So this is the benefit of cracking this and trying it now, is I can give you that quick fire thought initially. You know, no experience, I guess you could say, with particular malts or bottles prior to that, right? People say, oh, it's a next pour and it hasn't had time to settle. Well, for people that would say that, then it's probably going to get even better. So if I was to say something where, 9 out of 10, then those people probably go, all right, well, it's going to be a 10 out of 10 as it gets time in the bottle with a little bit of air to it to settle. And anyway, harp it on, see what happens with a bit of water. Yeah, you know what? Raspberry twists. I said vanilla ice cream before, absolutely yes. I prefer it with water. For me, it's just really brighter, sweeter. It's like some strawberry jam in there too. Oh, that nose is great. You could spend a little bit of time with that. And from a distance as well, really big nose, full bouquet, full nose. Yeah, water. Look, for me, I don't want to say it needs water. For me personally, I prefer it with water. You can drink it however you want, but that's good with water. Absolutely. Those 200ml bottles probably wouldn't last very long, because I would say that I poured myself a small dram for what I would normally pour. I would pour myself probably a dram 3-4 times the size of that. Add a little bit of water to it. You have a few of those, and I'm probably going to be halfway through the bottle, and then you're jumping online to buy another one, which that's great, right? It's a 200ml bottle, so you could do that. You could share around a few grams and do the same thing. So anyway, as I said, I enjoy it. I prefer it with a little bit of water. Long finish, right? It's still going. I'm getting some of that savoriness now. So I said umami before, absolutely. Spice, the sweetness, really nice and creamy as well. It's kicking goals for me. I will say I'm not surprised, because the distillery produce really good whiskey. Both bourbon cask that I've tried from them, and then also stuff that's sat in fortified casks. 4 years, I think that's a home run. So for me, that's a win. Anyway, I will probably have myself another dram or two of this before I put it away, and then I'll probably share a little bit with some friends. But there's another bottle here as well, which we'll probably get open sooner or later. But there you have it, my thoughts on the AWAS Batch 4 that's come from a very good South Australian distillery. Thank you very much once again for joining me. Please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Other than that, cheers to you. Till next time.